What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the studio. I'm Kyle. This is the Only Football Channel. Preseason is already underway. We had the Jets and the Browns in what would be the Hall of Fame game, and now we roll right in to all of the teams having all kinds of fun, testing out new things, new theories, new teams, new coordinators. We got drama in Washington. Not necessarily drama, but Eric Bieniemy getting called a very serious and intense coach. And then the head coach, Ron Rivera, coming out and saying, "Oh, I put my foot in my mouth," when he was talking about Eric Bieniemy. I mean, you just have a lot of new people working together that are trying to figure out their dynamic. I mean, this is a really fun part of the season because for people like me that saw things like Russell Wilson last year, we are going to get our first glimpse of, was it Russ? Is it going to be fixable? And the question has been every single time somebody gets Sean Payton, is Russell Wilson fixed? Did you fix him? And the problem with that question is it can't be answered until football is played. So football starting again is kind of reviving a lot of things that died at the end of the season. And that's just, another aspect to this part of the year that is a lot of fun. As my uncle always told me, everybody is undefeated in the preseason. And you definitely are going to hear every fan base telling their reason of why they think their team can make it to the Super Bowl. And, the best part about the NFL is if you took half of the teams in it, you could make a case that they could win the Super Bowl. You could take, let's say, Minnesota, right? You could take the Giants if you could buy into their draft. You could take Pittsburgh. You could take Cincinnati. You could take Miami. You could take Cleveland. You could take Denver. You could take Buffalo, Jets, Dallas, and Jacksonville, and the Eagles in Baltimore. Definitely the Chargers. You could make a case for the Rams, the Chiefs, and the 49ers. I mean, that's definitely over half the teams. I mean, and then, of course, the other half, you have the people that are definitely a long shot. And then you have people that are like, no, man, I think we're a lot better than you're giving us credit for. I'm talking about the Chicago fans, Tennessee. Yeah, those are the only two I'm seeing. But look, everybody is definitely thinking very highly of their team right now. Nobody believes that their team is going to start 0-3, but yet every year there will be a team that's 0-3 in week 3. So there's a lot of things that are getting kind of cleared up, right? You don't want to go into the week 1 with any loose ends, right? This is why you saw Russell Wilson get paid his huge contract right before week 1. This is the time to get it all together because the ship is departing and, there's no going back. We're not coming back here until the end of the season. And there's only one way that was a successful trip, and it's if we have a Lombardi in our hands. Let's get it all together here. So some of the things that I'm looking at, by the way, Kareem Hunt being available, kind of just to put an entire wide paintbrush stroke on this. This is a whole aspect that is going to be interesting to watch. What kind of players are going to get signed? We know historically, unfortunately, there will be injuries. When those injuries happen, a lot of these players that are available are sure to get picked up, but there are few of them that may get picked up without a major injury because they're that good of a football player. Kareem Hunt is definitely one of them, right? So Kareem Hunt visited the Indianapolis Colts today, and he left without a new deal. An offer was made by the Colts to the free agent running back. The two sides were unable to reach an agreement. That was reported by Tom Pelissero. So the Colts did offer Kareem Hunt a deal. I would imagine that the deal wasn't worth enough money. That's just, I mean, not very hard to speculate, but somebody is going to probably go after Kareem Hunt. And I think they would be really dumb not to. I mean, Kareem Hunt with Nick Chubb, I mean, I think, didn't he won Rookie of the Year as a rookie running back for the Chiefs? I'm almost certain. So I'm really wondering which team he could add a little boost to. I mean, Jonathan Taylor nursing an ankle injury right now, that definitely means some sort of snap count would be going on. And in a situation like that, I think Kareem Hunt could provide a lot for a team. Bill, in a little late, had to take the cans out. Trash night. Glad to see you're back. Thank you, Bill. Good to be back. Great to have you in here. My trash night's on Monday. So we're counting down right now. We cleaned out the fridge today. Anytime you clean out the fridge, you're like hoping it's going to be trash day in a couple days. Because if you're anything like me, we keep a lot of just crap in the refrigerator. I'm like, throw that out. So I'm intrigued to see where Kareem Hunt will land. I think whichever team he lands on will be immediately better. We mentioned Rivera saying that he put his foot in his mouth when he was talking about Eric Bieniemy in his comments. This is what he said today about his comments Rivera said he spoke to Bieniemy. Okay, so he went up and talked to him himself today. He said, I basically told him I put my foot in my mouth. I think what I said wasn't as clear as it needed to be. I think the understanding of it is just the fact that I think everybody making, in my opinion, a little bit more than what it needs to be made of, because again, the results are what you're looking for on the field. And so far, the last couple of days have been outstanding. I think Eric has done a great job communicating his message. Now that guys have opened up, talked with him, he's opened up to them. It's been a great bit of growth the last couple of days that guys are starting to have the aha moments. And you got to understand too, when a coach has a very tough kind of just old school mentality about them, like I think Eric Bieniemy is in his 60s, if I'm not mistaken. So he's got, an older school mentality. He's not going to be like Sean McVay. He's not going to be like LaFleur or, Mike McDaniels. He's not a young, coach like that. But everything that I needed to hear from him in his press conference, I heard. He was like, look, I'm going to be their, biggest critic, but I'm also going to be their biggest fan, and I'm going to go to war for them. I'm going to have their back, and I'm always going to take the fall for them. I can respect that. Like, as long as your coach believes that, I don't really care, if their style, you like it or you don't like it. Like, there's, Sean Payton's come in and he's done a lot of things that are just like, man, everybody in the business or in the building has had their moment of like, man, this is who we hired, whether it's the GM or the president, with Peyton saying, I can't believe they allowed this last year. You brought in that type of mentality, and we're seeing all around the league. If you watch Good Morning Football, you're hearing them like saying, is this the right approach for Sean Payton? Ron Rivera and Eric Bieniemy having their issues. Like, there's a lot of change in the offseason. And anytime there's change, there's going to be a learning curve. And we're seeing these teams going through these learning curves and learning how to, even put into intelligent wording that they know who their coach is. Like, if he would have, known Eric Bieniemy a little bit longer, maybe he would have had a more gentle way of saying, the kind of style he is. But he just met him. So he just says, the words that come to his mind. And he goes, oh, I put my foot in my mouth. I was too literal, right? He's still learning exactly who these people are. And at the end of the day, it's the off season. So we're always going to make a bigger deal of things because we're looking for storylines, right? We're all anxious that football's back. And really, that to me is a big piece of what was going on here is just, we need a story to talk about. And the no bucket hat, Sean Payton plus the no bucket hat rule. And that showed his age, because I think the show that they were talking about, I think I Love Lucy and MASH were out in the same time. So that's some of the old school mentality. I didn't even know what he was talking about. I'm 29 years old. I had a birthday. Since I've been gone, I'm 1 year older now. No more wiser, just older, unfortunately. But yeah, man, a lot of us were like, what is he talking about? Now, this is interesting because the Jets quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, advice to Panthers quarterback Bryce Young headline was very interesting to me, because the Jets played the Browns in the preseason. So I don't know if they're going to play week 2. I would imagine that they will, because if they don't, it's just kind of random. Let's see. New York Jets pre-season schedule. Let's see if they play the Panthers week 2. It was crazy. I was literally about to look up the Packers preseason schedule. Okay, so week 1, week 2, versus the Atlanta Falcons. All right, whatever. We'll roll with it. It's a random Aaron Rodgers to Bryce Young comment here. Gilligan's Island, that's what it was. Thank you, Bill. Okay, so random. But he says this: be gentle with yourself. It's a long journey. Rodgers revealed he told Young during practice. Oh, okay. See, all I had to do was just read the damn article. So they did a joint practice with the Jets and the Panthers. And this is what Aaron Rodgers told Bryce Young during practice. It feels like every little snap in practice is the end of the world if it doesn't go right. It's just not true. It's a long journey. And it's about holding on to your confidence and enjoying the ride, enjoying the little things every day. But I think he's got a great head on his shoulders and he'll be just fine. And Rodgers has adapted the mentor role as of late for several young quarterbacks across the league. Even if he has taken his job, Rodgers' guiding presence could be pivotal in revitalizing Zach Wilson's career. He definitely texted his successor in Jordan Love, advising him to be himself as a Packer. As soon as training camp opened, we heard about that storyline. And I think this is also not just about Aaron Rodgers going to New York and, solidifying himself as who he wants to be remembered as he leaves. But I think, look, Tom Brady retired. This is Aaron Rodgers' first year in the NFL as the old man. Like, this makes me feel old, you know what I mean? Just to say this, but like, if you were there when you watched Aaron Rodgers take over for Brett Favre, then you know that it's kind of weird. If you're if that happened when you're like 10 years old, 10, 12 years old, then it feels really weird for you because it's like you're not really an old adult yet, but yet you've seen somebody's entire career. It's just strange. So Aaron Rodgers, I mean, we saw Tom Brady go, and no, that's the wrong order. The first one we saw was Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning went. Then we lost, Drew Brees, and then we lost Phillip Rivers and Ben Roethlisberger. And then we saw Tom Brady go last. I think there's one more great quarterback at that time. I think that was it. But anyway, that was like, in my opinion, growing up, that was my big four. Ben Roethlisberger, like, sure, we can add him 5, but it was Drew Brees, Big Ben, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers. Those were like the guys. And now Aaron Rodgers is the only one left. And think about it. I mean, when you know that all the young quarterbacks, like as long as Tom Brady's in the league, it's like those are he's the mentor. Like that's him. He's won 7 rings. I'm over here. I'm just Aaron Rodgers. And it's like, not anymore. You are the most veteran, decorated current NFL quarterback in, the eyes of the typical fan. I'm not even talking about like rings or anything like that. I'm talking about when you need old man advice from somebody that is very close to retirement, that has played at a high level for the last 18 years. That's who he is now, which is just kind of funny. But he says, for what it's worth, Bryce Young will be just fine. I mean, what's he supposed to say? Like that, I always think that when I see these type of storylines where it's like Aaron Rodgers told Bryce Young that he's not sure he's going to be able to make it. Like no one's going to say that. Let me just go out of my way to be, a dick for absolutely no reason. But yeah, I think that's another example of a headline that's just like, man, can we get football going? I didn't know where it was going though, so I wanted to see what he said because all I saw was Aaron Rodgers advises Bryce Young. So I was talking about fantasy football last time we talked because it is that time. If you guys are in a fantasy football league, then you guys probably have a draft coming up soon. My fantasy team tends to draft after the last preseason game, just because unfortunately there are some injuries and we don't want to, have people drafting people that, are going to get hurt. So we just wait until the NFL week 1, like right before week 1. So they just did an article talking about Fantasy Football 2023 Cowboys Tony Pollard among top 10 running back values. So this is going to be really interesting. So they're talking about the best value. They're not necessarily talking about, who is going to perform the best. So I almost don't like these kind of articles because it's like, if you have somebody that is valued because you could get them in the 5th, 6th round, well, now they might be getting picked in the 3rd, 4th round because you made an article about it. And now that value is about what it actually should be. It's like it was a good value until you brought it up. But Alexander Mattison is number 1. He's taken over for Dalvin Cook. Every time that Mattison has gone in for Dalvin Cook, he has been amazing. He's averaging 23.3 fantasy points per game. He's a good enough receiver to be utilized as a 3-down back. I'm just saying you can get him in rounds 5 to 6. Bullshit. You are not getting him in rounds 5 or 6. That is such a bad projection. He'll probably be gone in the 3rd round. 4th round, absolutely the latest. Rank number 2 is Tony Pollard. They're saying you could get him late in round 2. It's probably true, actually. Pollard averaged the 7th most fantasy points per game among running backs last season, while only seeing 193 carries on the year. That is insane. He ranks second among running backs with 200 plus touches, behind only Austin Eckler. Elliott was left behind, 248 touches from last season. Pollard's finally getting the chance to be the clear RB1 in Dallas, and he offers the upside to finish as the top fantasy scorer among running backs. Hell yeah. I love me some Tony Pollard. I mean, if you've had him in the last couple of years, you know that he, as a flex, has just gotten better and better. I mean, it was like we even knew before all of last year that Tony Pollard was the best running back on the team. And the Cowboys just had to stick with it because they're like, man, we paid him so much. It's cool to see finally they've seen, you just can't ignore it anymore. Pollard's RB1. We're moving off of Elliott. Let's see what this guy's made of. I think he's going to have his best season ever. Derrick Henry. They're saying mid to late round 2. Damn. I mean, they must have like 15 teams in their league. I'm in a 10-team league. There's no way Derrick Henry is going to be available in late round 2. He'll be gone in the first round. It seems concern about Henry's age is pushing his draft costs lower than it should be. He's nearing 30 years old. He's not even 30 yet. I feel like Derrick Henry has been a monster man, that's crazy. A milestone that he has spelled doom for the NFL careers of the running back. However, Henry had the 4th most total fantasy points per game among running backs in 2022. He was the RB1 in fantasy points per game in 21 and the RB3 in 2020. Henry has led the league in rushing attempts per game each of the last 4 seasons. Don't overthink it. All this man does is dominate fantasy leagues. Totally agree. Ooh. Khalil Herbert, round 9. I expect the Bears to be one of the best rushing offenses in the NFL. They might even be the best. Justin Fields' mobility keeps defenses on their toes, giving more running backs more space to break loose. Khalil Herbert is competing with Dante Foreman and rookie Rashawn Johnson for snaps, but Herbert proved that he's more than capable whenever given the chance. I like this. I definitely like Khalil Herbert. I wouldn't start him immediately, but I would definitely have him on my bench, and I would feel how the Bears are utilizing him with the additions of DJ Moore and trying to develop Justin Fields more into a pocket, awareness pocket, presence, everything. He just wasn't very good in the pocket last year. I still think there's going to be a lot of running because Justin Fields is very, very mobile, and it's something that he should step into and not shy away from. But how all of that will affect Khalil Herbert, I would definitely not start him week 1. Najee Harris, round 3. I don't know, maybe. He had a pretty lackluster season last year. But his rookie year, he was really good. He was RB 14 last year, so that's the 14th best running back fantasy-wise. Fantasy managers should remember that Harris suffered a Lisfranc injury in training camp last year, and he did enter the season less than 100%. From weeks 1 through 8, he averages 13.5 carries per game. And I do remember that. People are like, what's wrong with Najee Harris? What's wrong with Harris? But from week 10 through 18, Harris averaged 18 carries a game, 4 yards per carry, and 14.2 fantasy points per game. I still think that's not enough, 18 carries a game for Najee Harris. I think he's got to be getting at least 20 carries a game. That just seems like week 1 through week 8, he was getting 13 carries a game. That's like getting 3 carries on 4 drives and coming out of the game. It's like you could do that in the first quarter. I mean, we've definitely seen Derrick Henry get more than 13 carries in a quarter. Cam Akers, oh God, yeah. If Cam Akers falls, pick him up. He has yet to prove that he's a reliable fantasy asset over the course of a full season. Blah, blah, blah. He appeared, the two sides were headed. Divorce. Yeah, so he was doing so bad that he almost left the Rams. We remember that. But then he was finally utilized as a workhorse back to close out the season. And over the last 3 games of the year, Akers averaged 23 touches, 136 scrimmage yards, and 21 points per game. I'm telling you, if they know anything, it's like even when the Rams wanted to get rid of Akers, they still hadn't used Akers for what he is. They were giving him, 7 carries here and 6 over here. Once they finally got their shit together and they were like, let's not trade him. Before we do that, let's use him as a workhorse. Let's give him over 20 carries a game. And, let's just be sure, right? Because we can look at his highlights at Florida State and be like, that guy is special. So let's just make sure he's not special before we do something dumb. And what did they find out? That Cam Akers was a beast, a freaking beast. He could be the top 5 running back in the league. And I'm telling you, next year is going to be Cam's year. Because now the Rams know who he is. Now he knows who he is. But it's his 3rd NFL year. This is when running backs tend to do their best. It's like year 3, year 4, they do really good. Or they're good their first year. But if you're not a superstar year 1, year 3, year 4, right? Josh Jacobs last year was, year 5? I mean, it's this is when he is going to have his best year by far. And they're saying you could get him in round 6. So if that's true, that's some really, really good value. Miles Sanders at 7. Rashad Penny. I'm sorry, I just would not draft Rashad Penny. He's been way too injured throughout his career. Joe Mixon at 9. They're saying you're going to get him in round 3. Probably not. And then number 10 is Rachaad White. So remember, Tampa released Leonard Fournette. So the Bucs gave Rachaad White an opportunity to earn a 3-down role in 2023. He didn't really play much as a rookie. What does it say? Only 3.7 yards an attempt. But he only had 5 games with 15 plus touches, and he averaged 13 fantasy points in those games. So White certainly needs to show more consistency, but it's possible that he has real upside if he does, get it going here in round 6, now that he is like solely the guy. And think about it too, Baker Mayfield, it's not Patrick Mahomes. They're going to need to run the football, and he may just get a lot of volume that kind of pushes him into, RB3 flex territory, depending on how well he capitalizes on those touches. All right. So this is a very, very unfortunate part of the offseason. This is injuries. These are the people that have been getting injured. Never, never, ever enjoy talking about that. Running back Marlon Mack. If you're a Colts fan, you definitely know who Marlon Mack is. Running back for the Arizona Cardinals as of right now. tore his Achilles in practice Tuesday and is out for the season. Gosh, I hate to see it, man. Especially a guy like Marlon Mack. Somebody just a straight grinder, just staying in the league, being overlooked, getting used and spit to the next team. I hate to see those kind of people get hurt. For the Baltimore Ravens, they had Rashad Bateman activated off the PUP list. So that's good. The PUP list is physically unable to perform. That's pretty solid news for Baltimore. And they also signed Broderick Washington, signed a 3-year extension with Baltimore. The team announced he was entering the final year of his rookie deal. Also, man, I went down a rabbit hole today because Henry Ruggs was sentenced 3 to 10 years for his crimes. And I don't mean to just brush over that like it's not a big deal. It is a huge deal. Somebody lost their life. I watched the courtroom videos. I watched the statement that Ruggs made, and I watched the defense, or not the defense. Ruggs is the defense, but I watched the victims of the family make their statement after Ruggs. And I was looking up what, the arrests were around the league, right? And let's see if I can find the same thing I put. So I was looking up, here it is right here, NFLarrest.com. And it basically breaks down crime categories, top players. You can do it by season, by year, by day, by division. Everything is on this website. So I was looking at the latest incidents, and I saw Damian Wilson about a year ago accused, and this is all like very official. So they're not like joking around, but this one I thought was really like actually funny for a crime. And domestic violence is not funny, but this is the legal description and it's funny. Accused of assault causing bodily injury to dating partner in Frisco, Texas. So this is Damian Wilson's dating partner. After allegedly pushing the woman and causing her nail to break. That's exactly what it says online. I was like, what the? I think I see now it says nails, which is plural. I guess that would be more extreme if you broke multiple nails. Maybe she had those like super long fake nails and she tried to like catch herself. I have no idea, but I've never seen a description like that. But I know what it's like from being, having a crazy ex, that did something with their nail breaking. It was just ridiculous. That's a story for another time. By the way, you guys are going to learn so much about me here in the next, year, especially on my YouTube channel that I'm going to be doing, because I'll have more, time to open up and stuff like that. My brother's been encouraging me. He's like, you should really, open up. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to. I just think a lot of this stuff is so relatable. And I think sometimes people just, it's like it's a football channel, but sometimes, people are just like wanting to, connect over things that aren't even about football. So I'm definitely going to make my channel kind of like that. But anyway, the next incident is insane. Insane, okay? So this was a player that was pulled over in Union County, South Carolina, with possessing an unlawful handgun and narcotics with intent to sell. Okay. So I'm like, all right, well, how much narcotics do you need to have for intent to sell? Just curious. So I go over to the the South Carolina legal website and I find the law. It's like, 40 tac, 140 tac, 72. So I get to the actual law and it says having over 100 in quantity is considered intent to sell. Okay. So I'm like, okay, well, like, that's not crazy, right? Well, check this out. There was a player named Gregory Keith Robinson. I ended up doing a background check to verify all of this stuff. I have a software where I can do like pretty damn accurate background checks, all totally free. It's public information. But I mean, it's very specific. Like, if I wanted to be like a creeper, I could literally like drive to this dude's home, because it's all public record. Phone numbers, everything. So Gregory Robinson. So in my head now, I'm like, okay, well, Gregory Robinson, if he got charged with intent to sell, he must have had at least 100 narcotics on him, which I'm like, that's not good. That's a lot. Okay. So I find the actual like convictions, right? And he was charged with way more than that. Okay, check this out. So this is the order of how it happened, okay? On Monday around 12 a.m. local time in the city of Thibodaux, it's one of those DAUXs from Louisiana. Police department officers conducted a traffic stop after 2021 black Cadillac Escalade violated a traffic law near the 100 block of E Bayou Road. Okay, so this is just a regular traffic stop. This actually wasn't Gregory Robinson's first traffic violation. He had a bunch of them. I guess he just doesn't really follow the traffic laws, which is insane considering what you're about to learn about what was in his vehicle. But okay, here we go. So officers made contact with the driver identified as Gregory Robinson. The department said that. And then the police department said that during the traffic stop, a police canine was alerted by the scent of narcotics within the vehicle. So now you got the dogs barking, just a traffic stop, and then the dogs are going crazy, right? Prompting the officers to conduct further search. And the search resulted in the findings of suspected cocaine, crack cocaine, oxycodone, hydroxycodone, Xanax, marijuana. Okay. And I'm like, okay, well, like, somebody could be into all of those drugs, you know what I mean? And just have them on them. I know it's a lot, but for a millionaire, if he really just loves doing drugs, like, he might just always have, he's the party guy. He's got everything. It doesn't necessarily make him a trafficker or, a seller. I mean, it's still a crime, but is it intent to sell? Well, following the search and the discovery of the narcotics, the police department released a statement. During the search of Robinson's properties, police discovered suspected methamphetamine and suspected cocaine, marijuana, blah, 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 as well as packaging equipment and multiple assets. So this is what was in the car. That it literally had its like packaging equipment. So then they're thinking, is he smuggling stuff? Why does he have all this packaging equipment? Now check this out. According to the police, approximately $120,810 worth of suspected narcotics were seized from Robinson's vehicle. $120,000. The seizure included over 3 pounds of meth, 40 pounds of marijuana, 220 doses of hydrocodone, and 48 of oxycodone, several other narcotics such as cocaine, Alprazam, which is what Xanax is, were seized. So here's what's crazy. When I was looking at the law in South Carolina for having over 100 is considered intent to sell, when it broke down the statute of that law, it said first-time offender must serve at least 3 years, but no greater than 10. And then a second time, it's like at least 10, but no greater than 50. And then it's like at least 30 years as a third-time offender, right? So I'm like thinking, oh, damn, intent to sell. He's serving at least 3 years. And then I see what was in his car, and I'm like, this mother effer's never getting out of prison, ever, ever. And he got house arrest. He somehow got put on house arrest. I could not believe it, guys. He had like 3 years of house arrest or something like that. Unbelievable. What's even crazier about the entire story is that packaging stuff in his car. When I did my background check on this player, it also pulls up any businesses that you own. So that's also public information, right? Owning a business, you got to apply for a license through the state. All of that is documented. You get an IMO number. All of it is trackable. Guess what Gregory Robinson owns? I looked up the IPO number or whatever to see what his company is. Guys, I'm not kidding when I tell you he owns a packaging and delivering company. I was like, oh my God, is it really like that? And I mean, like that is like a lawyer's field day on the other side. And then if you look up like who signed the company, who owns the company, it's not like Greg Williams gave money to somebody else. The owners is Greg Williams, and then he put like his brother on it, and that's it. And if you look up like who, it has like contact information, like if you want to get in contact with somebody from that company, guess what? It didn't have like the employees that work for him. It had Gregory's Robinson's number. It's like he didn't even have employees. It is literally wild. I don't know how, if their defense, the defense didn't say that, this guy owns a packaging store. He literally has more drugs in his car, you know what I mean, than a school bus full of, junkies. And he's got packaging equipment next to it. And we're just like, dude, whoever his lawyer is that got him 3 years probation deserves a huge round of applause right now. Wow. I mean, that's some strong lawyer work. Or maybe they just never put 2 and 2 together, but I highly doubt it. But either way, man, what a freaking story, right? This whole entire website is really interesting. I'll give you some fun facts. We'll do top crime categories. A number one reason for arrest is DUIs, right? So it's just like the one thing, man, that people are just always going to do, unfortunately. Number 2 is drugs. Number 3 is domestic violence. And I think that's pretty messed up, man. That is a problem. We definitely have a lot of entitled, people that definitely just, I don't know, man, didn't grow up right. You just never put your hands on a woman. I just don't understand how somebody even just does that. It just blows my mind. And then assault and battery, number 4, I could see that. Young football players, a lot of testosterone, going out drinking at nightclubs, getting DUIs and fighting people. I mean, that one I understand. And then traffic license. I mean, not having like some of these, man, I'm just like, man, like these are just like stupid. Like the amount of have license being suspended is literally like I just want to punch a hole in the wall. It's like, dude, I've had my license suspended. It's because I couldn't afford my ticket, and then they suspended my license, and I couldn't afford it to get reinstated. So I know what it's like to be like, I don't have the money for that. You know, I don't. I could spend it all on that, but then my lights are going to shut out. It's like to see people that make millions of dollars just drive around with suspended licenses and violating, traffic laws is so dumb, man. It's like, and they feed each other because if you fuck around at, not following the traffic laws, then your license gets suspended. It's like they feed each other. So the number one player being arrested probably won't shock you. Adam Pac-Man Jones. He was arrested 10 times, man, in the NFL. Aldon Smith arrested 7 times. I remember him, I believe, from the 49ers. Kenny Britt, I think, is a wide receiver. I think he played for Detroit. I'm totally guessing. Chris Henry, running back. Wasn't he the one that was like ran a 4.27 at the combine? Now, here's what's cool. They break down top positions. So wide receivers are responsible for the most arrests in the NFL, 160. And then number 2, you have linebackers. And then number 3, corners. Number 4, running back. Number 5, defensive tackle. And I think it's interesting, too, because wide receiver is – I want to make this point because I think it's really interesting. During the Netflix series Quarterback, you heard Kirk Cousins say, man, it's funny people that say like, oh, I play football so I don't have to study, because at least for quarterback, like you have to be smart, like you have to study. So by position though, there are certain positions that definitely just being wildly athletic, you can get by, like Johnny Manziel, he's got a movie that Netflix just released. I was just watching it, and he was saying that's actually why I got on so late. I was like, gosh, I just want to finish it. Man, it's so good. But Johnny Manziel was saying that, or his buddy was saying, I never saw him open a playbook, not one time, right? And you see what happened to him in the NFL. I didn't see the end of it, but I know how the story ends ultimately. Johnny Manziel wasn't a success in the NFL because he relied on his athletic ability, but he never grew mentally at a position where all the other people you're competing against are literally wearing headphones that are telling him plays while they're sleeping. Like when you got people that locked in, you're not going to get by with your raw athleticism as a 5'10" white kid that is, running a 4.5. It's not going to happen, dude. And when you look at the positions where you don't have to be a genius, right? Jerry Jeudy, the first press conference he ever did, I was like, oh my gosh, like, how did that person go to college? I mean, I'm not talking about slang and, different dialect. I'm talking about not being to form a proper sentence at all, or understand a question fully and answer it, accurately. It was a lot. Jerry Jeudy was the first player that really, for me, because I don't really watch interviews that often, but for my players, I do. And I've never had a player like Jerry Jeudy. I was like, wow. It just opened my eyes to the fact that football players at schools like Alabama, they don't have to go to class, man. They don't have to have good grades. Clearly, none of that really matters as long as you're good at football. But there are schools where you like BYU, I think Notre Dame. There are definitely schools where like, no, like you have to be a student athlete. Student comes first. But Jerry Jeudy was not a beneficiary of that. And when you think about the wide receiver position, you can just be a freak athlete and get by. Like, yeah, you got to know, certain plays and stuff like that. But, I mean, if you're like Tyreek Hill, they'll work with you, and I'm sure as a receiver, as a person that played receiver, like at the end of the day, man, it's a button hook, it's a post corner, it's an in, it's an out, it's a slant and go. It's just very, very easy to understand if you've played football your whole life. And people like Jerry Jeudy, man, they've been playing football their whole life. Like they just understand it. There's not like a complexity, to it like there is at the quarterback position. And I was gonna say though, when you aren't forced to go to school or forced to grow, you may lack some of the emotional intelligence to deal with your problems. And I think that's why you see a lot of wide receiver arrest for domestic violence. Maybe they don't know how to communicate the way they feel to one another. And that's why they, resort to domestic violence. I'm not a psychologist. I am going to go to school for it, but I'm not right now. But I do think that it's very interesting how the more important being, intellectually smart is, the less arrest we see at those positions, right? I mean, quarterback, it's like the lowest category, and the more raw athletically you are, the more arrests we see. Like running back, man, you could just give me the ball, I can make it happen. They're the fourth most. Cornerback, raw. Linebacker, I was thinking linebacker because they're, maybe angry. Linebacker, you think like really aggressive people. But yeah, you got two offensive positions responsible for the top 5 most arrests, and 3 defensive positions responsible for the 3. I mean, and it's still at the end of the day, there's not a ton of theft, right? Or resisting arrest. These are just the top 5 categories, which is what blew my mind. I was like, how is licensing traffic stops? How does that make the top 5 list? And then you don't have a ton of sex crimes, which is, thankfully. You do got some murder sprinkled in here. Not a ton. And then you have animal abuse. Obviously, Michael Vick is the reason Philly and Atlanta are highlighted when I click that. And you have Baltimore too. I wonder who I can look at it right here. Baltimore. And it doesn't let me click on it. Anyway, if you're a weirdo and like to read into crime and incidents and stuff like that, you're going to have a field day with this website. And then Bill said also in the car, a grocery store pricing gun. Oh my God. Good Lord. I was probably so shocked. I just like, at a certain point, it's just like, dude, if you're going to drive around like this, you got to follow the traffic laws, man. Like, I remember when I was a kid, if I was driving around with anything I shouldn't have, it was 10 and 2, freaking driving 2 over the speed limit, because if I drive exactly the speed limit, then I'm like sketchy, right? So I got to go 2 over, but no more than 4, so there's absolutely no chance of getting pulled over. Blinker before every move. Oh, the best times, man. Just driving around paranoid. But definitely not just speeding and running red lights. And I never had anything like what he had in his car, man. But yeah, that's definitely a drug trafficking company, and he has the money to back it. I always would love to see some kind of movie made about that. Guy makes millions in the NFL, turns it into, a $100 million drug smuggling company. I think that would be really interesting. I love drug movies for some reason. When it has to do, I don't know, it's just like an adrenaline to them, and it's true. It's not like far fetched. This happens every day. It's not a profession that I'm going to be getting into, but just to put that on record, right? But it is really something I'm pumped about. And another thing that I'm super pumped about is that the Denver Broncos are playing the Arizona Cardinals on Friday at 7 p.m. and Russell Wilson is going to get 15 plays. Sean Payton really doubled downing on when he said, we're going to do the opposite of everything Nathaniel Hackett's Broncos did. And not playing Russell Wilson was something that Nathaniel Hackett did. Nobody played in the preseason. This year, first preseason game, we're going to see Russell Wilson out there. And I thought, wow, that's really cool, man, because Sean Payton saying, I know that you guys feel as players that you've earned entitlements and respect, like doing an interview in the third quarter at the first preseason game in civilian clothes, right? Because, of course, we don't need to evaluate you. You're a star. I know you feel like you have those entitlements, but you've never played for me, and I've never coached for you, and I don't know who any of you guys are, really. I know that you guys haven't made the playoffs in 6 years. I know that. I know that you were the lowest scoring offense last year, but there's definitely no entitlements with those two observations. So, yeah, everybody is equal, and we are going to see everybody play. And I like it because I think the whole thing is like, if a player goes out there and plays exceptionally well, Sean Payton is going to be like, okay, like Justin Simmons was intercepting Russ in practice like 3 times in the first week. I mean, Justin Simmons was on fire, tweaked his groin a little bit, and Sean Payton shut him down until week 1. No preseason. I know who you are. You showed me. I've seen it in person. But if you're still playing in these games, even getting touches, that means Sean Payton believes he needs to see something, either for his own eyes, he needs to see a comfort level, he needs to see something. Okay. So, it's always interesting as we get into an era where it's a hot debate whether you play people or not. Younger coaches don't do it. You see Sean McVay doesn't play anybody. But there's a lot of people that are hungry and they're out there, man, just trying to make a roster spot. And they dream of being able to have one of these preseason games where they don't have to, dress because there's nothing for them to prove. But I actually love this part of the season, and I love watching these people. And a lot of we see stars born in the preseason. Let's say a guy returns 2 punts in one game for a touchdown. I think we saw Turpin become the Dallas Cowboys returner because I think he had 2 or 3 touchdown returns in one game in the preseason last year, if I remember correctly. But just to go through all of the teams, we got Houston Patriots Thursday. So that'll be tomorrow at 4 p.m. my time. So let's go. We got football. Less than 24 hours. Then Thursday night, we got Minnesota, Seattle. Then Friday, we got Bills, Giants playing Detroit Friday at 4 p.m. Pittsburgh, Tampa, Friday, 4 p.m. Green Bay, Cincy, 4 p.m. Atlanta, Miami, Friday, 4 p.m. Washington, Cleveland, Friday, 4:30. Denver, Arizona, Friday, 7 p.m. Tennessee, Chicago, Saturday, 10 a.m. Indianapolis, Buffalo, Saturday, 10 a.m. Jets, Carolina, Saturday, 1 p.m. Jacksonville, Dallas, Saturday, 2 p.m. Philly, Baltimore, Saturday, 4 p.m. Chargers, Rams, Saturday, 6 p.m. Chiefs and Saints, Sunday, 10 a.m. And the 49ers and the Raiders, Sunday, 1 p.m. I kind of like this football every 2 hours, literally, I could pretty much watch football from tomorrow at 4 p.m. until Sunday at 4:30 in the afternoon. So I love that. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I just wanted to give you guys those different games, and I'm going to see if I got the Broncos game over here. Definitely, I will live stream that. And I'll probably just live stream one anyway, just to, get our feet wet, if you will. It's a brand new season. Let's go. Let's go live for these things and get some strangers in our video in the comment section. It's going to be a blast. And if you guys want to follow me, you can follow me at Twitter at FTBLONLYPODCAST. Football Only Podcast, and my partner Rick at And Now Rick, ANDNOWRICK. And we're here, man. It's time to do it. It's time to buckle up. Just like my Twitter post. Is that how you say it? My tweet. And by the way, thank you for sharing that or retweeting it, Bill. I saw that and I was like, hell yeah. Yeah, that got my morning going in the right foot. I was like, dude, Bill and Star 6 Media retweeted it. Let's go. It just made me feel like everyone else is pumped too. So thank you guys. Gonna start going probably a little bit earlier now that we're here during the football season. Got to try to accommodate and get some of the people from the East Coast in here as well. But I know some people have reached out to me and they're like, dude, I love having late night football commentary. Today was not a very busy night, but we've had other nights where I've gone live at, 10:30, 10:45 p.m. and we've had 9-10 people. So it's like, it's, hit or miss. You never really know, but definitely look for my YouTube channel, Kyle Kitzman, Kyle Kitzman, Kitzman, and I'm going to be doing a lot of content on there during the day. So just another place that I'm going to be putting content, one of a kind interviews in random places. So that'll be a lot of fun. I really feel like I learned a lot getting this channel going for the last year. As you can see now, even on my video, it doesn't say Camo, which was the software I was using. It doesn't say any of that anywhere. And finally, we got the mic, we got the camera, we got everything going. So it'll be cool on my other channel. It's going to look very clean from the beginning. And that's just the way it is because it took us some time to learn. But Bill just subbed to it. Absolutely love it. And you know what? Now I'm going to have to go live tomorrow. I'm going to have to do something. It's always hard figuring out what's the first thing I should do. It's like, what, it's like, just start, man. Just hit record and get in there. And now I got to, because I got a sub. But yeah, man, if you guys also love other sports. I know I don't shout them out all the time, but man, check out the other channels here at Star Six Media. The guys work really hard to get those going, and I just want to show them some love. So me and Rick will be back soon together, and we can't wait to be back, man. So thank you guys for watching tonight. We're going to have some football coming up here at the end of the week. We're going to be live streaming. But until then, go Broncos, and I'll see you guys soon. See you.